Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast. I'm your host Bianca.
And I'm Ryan.
So today we're talking about, as Gen Zers, what it was like growing up in the world without technology for a little bit, and then I guess the fast growing, the world of technology in the past few years. So I feel like we're kind of going back in time a little bit nostalgic this morning about how life was like for us.
Our perspective.
Growing
up with, technology and the internet. Really.
Yeah, because I feel like we were the last generation to kind of have that experience of no technology, and then just like the rush of technology so fast and so quickly.
I think we got a good balance of like touching grass and being able to be good with technology, unlike our parents.
That's 100. Yeah, I completely agree with that, because it's like I remember as a kid being able to, go outside, play, like, I still played with dolls and like, played grocery store or whatever it was.
And as a boy, just going outside, playing backyard footy. I feel like you have to be a certain type of parent who's really strict these days to make your kids go out and play outside. Like you still do see it. I still go to the park and I see kids and it makes me happy. It's not been forgotten. But like you also, you go to a restaurant and you see the iPad kids and you're like, gosh, what are we in for in a couple of years time? I know.
But then you kind of think, you're like, oh, if my kid was screaming at the table too, that I would just shove an iPad in their face. But
I'm not going to get into parenting, but I'm probably going to give a kid an iPad one day and be like, this is just the best thing ever. Like my parents wish they had this back in the day. I remember when iPod Touches first came out, I saw a kid. This is actually the first time I ever saw an iPod Touch. It was a kid who was sitting in a shopping trolley. Yeah. And he was on his iPod sitting in it. And I was like, I want to be that kid.
Yeah.
Because that would be like the most fun thing to do while your mum's shopping is just be on your iPod.
Be on your iPod. But that was like the start of things. Like, we started with nothing really, like not nothing, but as in like technology wise, there wasn't really like no,
it was TV really.
Yeah, it was just TV. Like if you had Foxtel, like wow, that was really awesome. You could rewind
that
and
I had
pause.
Foxtel, yeah.
Exactly.
Like a lot of people didn't have Foxtel, and I feel like because I just got to watch like Nickelodeon and Disney Channel like all day, and that was like the best era.
Exactly. I completely agree, because I had Foxtel for a bit and then we didn't, and then it was kind of like, what do I do with my life?
What do you do now?
And then I remember going to my friend's house and they could like record and rewind TV, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this technology?
Like we weren't allowed to use like YouTube was a thing back then. YouTube was one of the only social media platforms I think that would have been around when we were like 5 years. Like
I don't remember.
There weren't many social media platforms, but YouTube's been around for a while. And my parents never let me go on YouTube. And there was one time they were like watching or something on TV, and we didn't really have internet besides my mum's computer. So we didn't have Wi-Fi. Yeah. It was only my mum's computer. And me and my sister went in and watched The Simpsons on YouTube, and we got scolded. Wow. They were not happy. They're like,
that's so funny.
They just didn't know what the internet really was.
But that's the thing. Like it was so much harder to access. Like I remember being in primary school and, you'd go to computer room. Do you remember computer room?
Computer room was like the first steps for my like love of technology.
Because Ryan and I went to the same primary school as well, so that's why I can still remember. Do you remember where it was? Like
I do remember it was, and there was a little yabby in the computer room.
That's so funny. But I remember like computer room, like you'd have to log in, like you'd have your own login, then you'd all be dialing up your little whatever that thing is on the side, press on, and then everyone would be on the Wi-Fi or whatever. But it's like for half an hour, and then you could play like. You remember like Club Penguin
and Tux Paint.
Yeah.
And like Tux Type. Do you remember them?
I do remember Tux
teaching
Type.
You how to type.
That was the best.
Yeah.
It was like, what was that math one?
What was it?
Mathematics? Mathletics.
Oh my God.
And it was like you compete against the whole world.
Yeah. You find people on, that was the best. They should bring that back. Does that still exist?
It probably does.
Oh my God.
That was actually really good. That's brought back a lot of memories. That was like our first kind of experience with technology and with internet. And I know now that it grew so quickly. Like I remember when we finished like primary school and we went to high school, I feel like that period, it just like grew so fast from there.
Like when we were in primary school, there was only like maybe one or two like kids who had laptops.
Yeah.
And that was like
or
for
even
special
a phone,
reasons because they couldn't write. Phones were so rare in primary school.
Yeah.
High school, that was like, we kind of grew into that era of like you're allowed to have a phone.
Yeah. And I had the first iPhone 3.
Yeah, wow.
If that was the first.
That was the first one in Australia, maybe.
Yeah, it was like an iPhone 3G or something.
Yeah.
And I had it was like this block. It didn't even have a front camera.
No.
So if you wanted to take a selfie, you had to turn it around and do like the back camera thing.
Yeah.
And it was so heavy and thick. And I just remember like I thought I was so cool because I had an iPhone. But it was
if you had an iPhone, the first iPhone, like you were like you probably couldn't even text anyone. You had to text someone on an iPod.
It was so blocky and big, and it's just so funny looking back because now they literally became an iPhone every year.
Yeah.
And everyone, you weren't cool if you didn't have the new iPhone. Remember when those iPhone 5 SEs or whatever came out and they had like
colored ones,
the circles on the back? Yeah, the colored. It was like blue and green.
Crazy. They never brought them back.
Oh god.
Apple have such a like monopoly on the Australian market because of that early area like of the iPod Touch, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it started with an iPod Touch, and I had an iPod Touch, and I loved it, and because I didn't have a DS.
Oh, the DS was that I think it was like some big celebrity, like
Essential C had one.
Someone was just pulled out a DS and was playing the DS.
He was sitting next to Sabrina Carpenter, and he just pulls out this DS and starts playing.
That was the best because like the DS was my first taste of messaging.
Oh,
because it had. I don't know if you remember. There's so on the DS, if someone else had a DS like near you, there was a feature called Pico Chat, and it was like local messaging. So like
AirDrop, similar to like that sense. Like if you were near
it was kind of like Bluetooth messaging is the best way I could describe it. But you could draw stuff and like send that message as a drawing to people who were like in the other room, and like people would like stay up all night just like messaging people on Pico Chat. It was like the first experience of young people text messaging.
Isn't that crazy though? Like how different now you can literally just pick up an iPhone, an iPad, and a laptop or whatever and just send a message.
And the DS actually, they even brought in the camera in the DS, and that was a lot of people's first experience with like a front facing camera. But yeah, the growth since that handheld era of devices.
Yeah.
It's like something that people before us, like 10 years, 5 years before us, just didn't have.
Yeah.
So our childhoods are just completely different. And the kids these days, as we said,
so different.
The iPad era of kids.
The iPad kid.
I'm actually interested to see though in a few years' time, like because these kids are having so much experience, like with technology, and like they're actually learning a lot with the things they're doing, and they're like hearing a lot of people. I think they're actually going to be smarter than what we were, or like our parents before us were at that age, because they just have so much
like so much exposure to
to everything. Like you hear even in their voice, and like there's so much slang in modern kids these days that I hear on the radio like every day, like Fitzy and Whipper are talking about a new word that their kids saying.
Yeah, and I've heard that people in America, because like the Bluey, the Bluey era, everyone's watching Bluey, that Americans are starting to have Australian accents when it used to be the other way around, that kids like in Australia would like they'd say something in an American accent, because obviously a lot of our TV was always American. And now that Bluey's kind of blown up, there's like kids with Australian accents, which is just so funny because you just never thought that would be a thing.
Bluey is such a I'm so happy that exists as an Australian. It's like it's a good show. It's got good principles behind it, and like the kids can watch it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I definitely think that's a funny, like it's a different opinion, because I feel like a lot of people these days are so anti iPads, anti TV, anti that whole like Miss Rachel, that the lady on YouTube. She's like this icon basically to children, and she teaches kids like how to speak and what to say, and everybody loves her. It's like she has a YouTube account, and it's like, hi children, like how are we? And like it's really funny but people say that Miss Rachel saves their lives because it'll calm the kid down straight away, or it'll stop them from crying or having a tantrum, and that they've learnt how to talk or how to speak from them. And I think that's a good way to look at it, is that a lot of people are seeing the negatives of having this technology.
100%.
But I think you made a really good point about like the education that they have from such a young age, the exposure. Obviously there's negatives depending on what they're actually being exposed to.
Yeah, I think as a parent you've got to monitor
100%. Like that, but that YouTube kid era, like it's all monitored for kids, So I think that's a good point, that it could be, these kids could be really smart. They might be a little bit introverted though.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like they have like the online, like gaming's obviously massive now, like and it's going to continue to grow, and like they talk to their friends on that. But yeah, in the real world, I feel like there's definitely been a decrease in social skills of those kids.
Yeah, like having the ability to go up to someone, have a conversation, and it be really natural and genuine. I completely agree with that. But
that's why I think that's still very important to keep, and the government encourages to keep your kids in sport, like having that connection, that social time once a week. But as you were saying about like, and we were talking about before, kids being smarter these days, I feel like growing up, I always used to, like the default for me was asking my parents the answer to any question that I had.
Yeah, for sure. Because they're your idols.
Yeah,
like they're above you. They're your parents. Like you get a lot of your education from them.
Like any question I had, straight to mum and dad.
Yeah.
But like as technology grew, I just started to Google the answer.
Yeah.
So like I feel like kids are going to do that more and more now. Just like figure it out yourself. Like,
yeah.
Because Google's probably going to give you a better, more background answer.
Yeah,
than
well,
your
not even Google, like TikTok. You go and
exactly.
We're talking about before, like how that people aren't using cookbooks anymore. They're using TikTok videos.
And like TikTok, what is it? Is it CookTok? Or like everyone just puts talk on the end of like any subject.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it has its whole little like group community essentially. Yeah. And using TikTok to find, because it's so quick, people are going to give you an answer within 1 or 2 minutes.
People like to have visual learning these days too. People don't want to read, they want visual because everything's so visual these days.
I think that's massive. Like that's why YouTube in itself is just so good. You can watch any YouTube video and it's just immediately better than reading something out of a textbook.
I completely agree.
And I think teachers and schools have got onto that lately where like they'll just show you a video of something as opposed to like read all this.
Yeah, like read, but also you don't even know if they're actually going to read it as well. Like I feel like if you're sitting there and saying, hey, watch this, at least you can kind of see that people are watching it. Yeah. But if you say, oh, here, read a book, you don't know if they're actually going to read the book or not.
100%. And like people's attention spans these days, like reading a whole like textbook, like
yuck.
To a kid, that's not like something they want to do.
No.
Show them a video, a lot better. Show them a short form video, like a TikTok or an Instagram reel. Yeah. And all of a sudden the dopamine's going through the roof.
Yeah, literally. But you remember in school though, like when you'd have a day where you're like, oh, it's a Friday afternoon, they'd put a documentary on or something and you're like hell yes, this is the best.
Something visual, you know?
Something that you can just switch your mind off a little bit. You'd still pay attention. They'd let you like lie on the ground with a pillow or whatever.
Oh, that was the best.
Wasn't that the best? Like on the smart board.
Something to look forward to. I wonder if teaching is going to change again to like just give kids like snippets of short form content.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because I think that, like again, the curriculum of schools is so outdated and has been outdated for a really, really long time. So it would be interesting if like when there is eventually an update, how that they will approach it because the attention spans of like even me and you, like, you know, we've finished school.
I'll admit.
But I cannot, if a video is going too long, I'm like, I cannot, even if I'm totally interested in exactly what they're saying and I'm like, I really want to watch it, I'm like, I can't. So I'll skip it and go to the next one. And it's horrible.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think if you want to know something, short form content. If you want to know how, like 10-minute YouTube video. If you want to know why, podcast 40-minute length is kind of what's happening.
It's a good like 3-step thing.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that the other day because there's also a rule that applies for a lot of things. You can learn 80% of anything with 20% of that effort. That extra 20% you want to learn takes 80% of the effort. It's like be an expert in that field.
Sure.
So I think that kind of is carrying across into short form content where like people can learn so much in so little time and just, I think the young generation are going to have a lot of knowledge.
Sure.
A lot.
I agree. I feel like there is so much knowledge. But the thing is, again, the negative of that is that how much of that knowledge is actually accurate as well. Because we talk about how much social media
100%.
Has misinformation and how much
100%.
Online, you know, for so long, you can't believe everything you read in the magazines. You can't believe everything you read on the internet. But now it's like, oh, well, the internet is our source of education these days. And kids are just absolutely, you know, diving deep into the internet, into TikTok, into YouTube, and they're believing everything that happens because you assume that it's correct. So,
it's so easy to do. Honestly, I'm so guilty of doing that. Like, my first thought is like, if it's on the internet, like I believe it. Like, I believe.
I saw it on TikTok.
I believe anything I see on the internet more than something tells me.
Really?
Yeah. Like if I 100%.
Like you need to like verify it.
I need like a original source. You know, what did they talk about? Like secondary and primary courses back in school. I never knew what that really was until like only recently.
Sure.
But to combat that, like Twitter, now known as X, they've added this new thing called community notes. And essentially the power is now back with the community. And if you source your information, you can actually disprove someone's tweet as false information.
Wow.
So for example, do
you have to like give a source?
Yeah, you give a source.
Sure.
And you write your little note and then the community can like say, yep, that's correct.
Wow.
So like if a politician's saying biased stuff, community members, people on Twitter can go in.
They'll dispute it.
Yeah, they can write a note and then they can source their information.
Wow.
And then it'll come up on that tweet community notes.
Wow.
So it's essentially just calling out the tweet.
Wow.
So the other day, another good example, I don't know how many people watching this will know, but Kai Cenat, I think he's a singer or rapper.
Who?
Kai Cenat?
I don't know who that is.
He's big in the social media.
Okay.
He's like, he just did a video with Mr. Beast. Okay, so.
Oh, is that like the Twitch guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and he did a video with Kevin Hart.
Yeah, so
okay,
Kai Cenat just got Mr. Beast on stream.
Yeah.
And they pulled a prank, like a hoax thing.
Yeah.
Where his whole room, they filled it with fireworks, and he got one of his mates to just like set off the fireworks and blow up the room. And like there's all these photos online of like this house up in flames, and like the whole stream ends and it cuts off and everything. His whole room blows up. And then Community Notes comes in and says, like the context, this was a setup, like blah, blah, blah. So not to trick people into thinking, okay, he's actually just blown up his whole house.
Oh, wow.
So
that's interesting. Do you remember when people would edit Wikipedia? It's kind of similar to that.
Yeah. Wikipedia is pretty good these days. I feel like.
Well, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
Because Wikipedia has been around since we were. And I remember specifically teachers saying to us, don't use Wikipedia.
I think they just said that because it was like a cheat code. Because it was like, it was the first thing that come off for everything. And the information was like, I never missed with the info on Wikipedia.
It was always like, that sounds so good. I'm totally going to add that in.
That's actually like a great segue into like, Wikipedia is essentially the new encyclopedia. I'm guessing that's why they called it that. And like encyclopedias, everyone would have trusted any piece of information that was ever in an encyclopedia.
I don't even think I ever used it in encyclopedia.
Yeah, like we've got these old dusty encyclopedias up
like
in our house.
A-to-Z?
I've never, I don't think anyone under the age of like 25 has probably picked up and actually read something in an encyclopedia. Because that's just what Wikipedia is now.
Yeah. Do you remember as well, like we'd have to have, kind of going back to like the difference now, we'd have to buy a dictionary as part of our like a thesaurus and a dictionary. We'd always need one. And now these days, like you've got like Grammarly and you've got autocorrect, whatever it is.
Dictionary.com, like literally just the dictionary.
If you type into Google, like what does this mean? It's just like the first little, I don't know what that's called. What's it called when it's like a little?
Actually, I don't know, but like Google has the snippet there.
Yeah, it's a snippet and you're like, perfect. I don't know what that is. It's just 100%. Instant information. But we used to have to go and buy a dictionary and open it up.
And they keep adding so many new words in, and there's like all different dictionaries. Honestly, I think the Urban Dictionary is a better dictionary than dictionary.com.
The Urban Dictionary?
Urban Dictionary's got everything.
They would just add anything and everything in that. You'd look up some stupid word.
It's like the word, I researched a couple months ago, the word millennial.
Yeah.
So like we're obviously Gen Z.
Yep.
And there was a Gen X. Mm-hmm. So who's Gen Y? They're the millennials, I'm pretty sure. I think that's how, this is, like, as a Gen Z, I don't even know. Like,
I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure Gen Y are millennials.
I think so too. And then there's like boomers are after that.
Yeah, boomers are boomers.
Yeah, boomers are old. And then I think now is alpha.
Oh, I don't. No, they're the Zoomers.
What?
Yeah.
Zoomers?
Well, maybe we're Zoomers. Because like the Zoom era of like, of kids is like Zoomers.
I feel like that whole like Gen thing, it's just such a...
Yeah, so I think the word millennial, because I searched it up in Urban Dictionary, actually took on a second meaning of more being like young people.
Right.
As opposed to people in that era.
Because I think millennial is after us.
Exactly. See,
I
think it has a double meaning. We'll put the Urban Dictionary definition up.
Yeah, I was going to say, whatever.
But I'm pretty sure it has a double meaning.
Yeah, but that's fun. But isn't it funny though how they categorize us into like
little groups
and like generations? And it's so funny because you're like, oh, don't be a boomer, or like that's so Gen Z. That's you.
I always call people boomers when they just do anything bad with technology.
Only because they're like, what, 10 years older than you? You're like, okay, boomer.
You can't do something with technology. Boomer. Like my mum on the live chat with
But she's not boomer. I think she's... Wait, no, yeah, she is boomer. Is she boomer?
You're a boomer if you're over like 40, really.
You reckon?
Because it's not a specific era. It's like just not literate with technology, really.
Sure. It's just so crazy, like looking back though, how much it's changed. Yeah. Like we're talking about it, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what life was like then. Then you remember that like dictionary thing. You're like, what the heck do we need a dictionary for? The value
of nostalgia, like just in general, like just thinking about these memories, and like you even see these TikToks come up like 2000s school kids starter pack. And
like what they have in the canteen.
Yeah, that was like the Sunny Boys and all that.
It is funny to look back, but now like the technology, I don't think that we realized how quickly it did grow.
No,
we were probably the first generation to have laptops and iPads for high school. Now kids are it's like compulsory to have that at school, and all of their schoolwork is online, and parents can access it, and through like portals. People have to, like, I know there are schools where you have to tap into school these days. So I was saying to you before how that it was probably easy for us to wag school if we wanted to back
Wouldn't
in the
be
day.
me. Wouldn't be me.
But like, you know, people would leave school and it was so much easier because you could just like maybe write a note and give it to the office. But now it's all like,
you have to tap in.
Electronic. It's probably through a portal. You probably have to have a password to log in. Like, obviously, you know, kids could hack the password. You know, their parents probably use like their birthday. Like, it's probably super easy.
That's really good because like even a couple of guys here, their kids are going to schools where the homeroom's not the first class.
Too fair.
Which is a weird concept. That was your school?
That was my high school.
That is such a weird concept to me.
It was weird.
So like surely,
why are you trying to log me in at 10:30 instead of
like I'm just going to wag the first 2 classes? Like I don't really understand that concept, but maybe this combats that a little bit.
I think so. Yeah. I think because it's all like electronic now, it's just so different. But isn't that just so crazy? I feel like it's again, it kind of goes back to the bit of a control thing though as well. Like for me, like the little bit of a risk of writing a note that you wrote that your parents didn't agree with. You know what I mean? Like that was a bit of fun, like being in school.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a safety thing and I do not recommend anyone to do it, but I feel like it does take away a little bit of that, like being a kid.
Yeah.
And having that like fun of like writing notes at school and just mucking around a little bit because everything's now kind of.
It's like being a bit of a rebel.
Yeah, like a little bit. But
which is part of childhood.
It's literally part of being a kid. Like you can muck around and still be a kid, but now I feel like you're so hardly monitored by like, you know, there's parent settings you can have on iPads and where the parents are reading messages. Like, oh my God, I would have an absolute heart attack if my parents read what I would have, you know, texted a boyfriend when I was 12. You know what I mean? Like that
was like kind of part of growing up in our era, which is now changing to a new era of kids growing up, which they're going to be different.
Of course, it's like all meant to be for the better, like safety and like making sure that kids aren't exposed to things that are inappropriate or whatever. But I feel like is it going to stop or is it just going to continue?
I'm pretty sure they're thinking about putting laws in for social media restrictions for kids that at like age 16.
Oh, so they can't actually have
can't have a certain account because of all the bullying that's happening and all that.
Well, that's good. Cyberbullying is awful. So definitely that was, I feel like that kind of started when I was in high school as well. Like there was, remember Ask FM? Do you remember that?
Ask FM. That sounds like a radio station.
Oh, it was like a online, like you would send in anonymous questions to people's account and people were absolutely
because it was anonymous
awful. Like the amount of crap that I would get on there, like, you know, I'm not even gonna say it was actually, I can't even say it on here, but absolutely horrible. And then when you try and like dispute it to whoever, like it's like some foreign country in the middle of Africa who owns it. You can't even do anything about it. Like you can't take it down. You can't get rid of it. So it's just awful.
Social media platforms are changing a lot. Like Omegle doesn't exist anymore. Like
I know it was not, Omegle was not what we thought it was. It was actually really inappropriate, but we did use it as like a funny.
In the early days. Yeah.
That was actually really fun. I do miss that.
What else is changing with social media platforms? Like, I'm just trying to think.
There are a lot of like, as you said, like, you know, there's always been restrictions in there that certain ages can't have social media, but everyone lied.
Oh yeah.
Everybody lied about how old they were. Everybody, if you had an email and you just ticked, you know, that you were 16, it was so easy to do.
Yeah,
there was no verification.
There's no verification with it.
Exactly.
Like I use Twitter a lot, so I keep bringing it up. But
do you actually use Twitter a lot?
Because Twitter for me is like the global social media platform for me. Like because you can just write something, so you can see what people.
Do you write things?
I don't write things, but I like to see what people.
Do you tweet? Do they call it tweets anymore?
Yeah, they don't have officially said a new thing for it. But because you can just see what people are saying and like saying about it, it's so much easier. Anyway, but once Elon Musk bought it, like, and he brought like everyone back on it who got banned off it, like there's no real restrictions on Twitter anymore. So they're trying to find a way to monitor that. Yeah. For like to make it safe for kids, because realistically a kid could.
Well, Twitter is not safe.
Exactly.
Not at all.
So they're trying to like monitor that, like verify your age, or you can only have one account per like phone number type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously, like if the content's unfiltered,
it's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, like Facebook and Instagram, they're really strict these days. Like if you post something that's at all slightly, you know, nudity or like sexualized or whatever, you can get in a lot of trouble and they can shadow ban you. But Twitter, you can post links to absolutely anything and
it's dangerous.
It's there for everyone.
Like I wouldn't if I had a kid right now, I wouldn't want them on Twitter until like
I wouldn't want them on
another
year.
Another year. Yeah, well,
in general, to be honest.
That's what the new laws they're trying to bring.
As someone who, you know, I had strict parents when it came to social media, even though like it's kind of a bit ironic because like I had social media from such a young age. But my parents, like, remember Kik?
Oh my God.
I was not allowed Kik at all.
Kik Messenger.
And that, because again, unfiltered.
That was the first like real messaging.
It was for us, for our generation. I know that there was like, you know, all the old ones that everyone else, I don't know, like MSN and MySpace and stuff like that we never had.
Yeah.
But Kik for us was like the first like high school chat, and it was disgustingly inappropriate, like what you could like send in there, what you could say. But like I didn't have it.
Yeah, no.
I didn't have it, but I remember just like what would go on in these chats.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was crazy. You could talk to, again, absolutely anybody in the world, and all you needed was their username. Oh, add me on Kik.
That was what was cool about it, because it was like texting without a phone number.
Exactly.
It was texting without a phone number.
Exactly.
Essentially.
So it was so different, and you could literally chat to anybody. And I remember like people used to think that they were chatting to famous people, and they used to think that they were chatting to like, you know.
Because you had a profile picture.
Exactly. Or your name would be like Channing Tatum, and you're like, oh my God, I'm chatting to Channing Tatum. And it's like, well, obviously Channing Tatum is not going to be talking to a 13-year-old. I'm pretty sure
Kik still exists.
Really?
It's like
I thought it was like a online dating thing.
Yeah, it's like an online streaming thing, but I don't think it's big at all.
But it's just crazy though how it has changed, because now, like, you know, we don't really use any platforms to chat. We use iMessage mainly to chat. People use WhatsApp. I don't really use WhatsApp. I don't know if you. I don't. I feel like that's an older generation
sports
thing
chats,
again.
like sports teams is very popular because you have a combination of older and younger people. Yeah. Like, I think kids these days aren't even signing up on Facebook. Like,
really?
Like, I think we were like probably almost at the last people. Maybe like if we have younger siblings, they were on Facebook as well. But like,
I don't really.
Kids just aren't on Facebook. They're just on like Instagram, YouTube. They don't need anything else.
Yeah.
TikTok. That's it.
I feel like TikTok, not even Instagram. I feel like Instagram is such a dying platform when it comes to that as well.
Well, I think their short form content has saved Instagram.
I agree.
Yeah,
but it's changing
and
kind of like
the new algorithm.
Thing.
The algorithm of Instagram used to be strictly chronological off your following feed.
Amazing.
Anyone you're following, that's
how you got famous though. Like that's how it was so easy back in the day to get followers, to have like, you know, I had followers for such a long time because like I knew what the algorithm was like. Like you would post consistently.
Yep.
You post at a time that everybody is home from school and everyone's home because you knew that your post would come up and it'd be like, oh, that's my friend.
Like if someone checks in at least once every 2 days, they're going to see a post.
100%. But now it's like, oh, I haven't seen you post in like 7 years. And you're like, well, I have been posting, but the algorithm clearly doesn't want to show you myself.
To be fair, the algorithms are like, as much as we hate talking about them, like they do make your content more discoverable. Yeah. So like, maybe not for your people who are following you
anymore is not brand. Yes.
Yeah, because also once every 4 posts is an ad now.
That's
so
awful.
like it feels like
that's
the platforms
as well.
We'll talk about this in another episode. There's like a whole nother tangent.
The change of that, right? Yeah. Like even the updates of what Instagram and Facebook and all that used to look like and how different it is now. Like Instagram was literally like post and that was it. No stories, no nothing. Even like Snapchat was huge when we were in high school, and now I mean look,
it's because that feature's been embedded into lots of new apps.
Yeah.
Popular YouTuber Marcus Brownlee did a video on this about how like essentially Snapchat is dying because of Facebook and Instagram just putting that feature into their app. So like the Snapchat app is just a feature of another app.
Yeah.
And that's happened multiple times in other, like it's this kind of, it's kind of similar with TikTok and Reels.
They just like, copy each other.
I don't think TikTok will die because it's just, it's different enough.
It's too new though.
It's different enough and it's new. But as a kid, as going back to our childhood as Gen Z, like, we didn't really have these dopamine-filled short-form content. We had mobile games.
We did have mobile
Cut
games.
the rope, paper toss.
God. What was that jungle, the one where they'd run through the jungle?
Temple Run.
And Subway Surfer.
Subway Surfers you still see in the modern TikTok era.
Yes, when they did the split screen.
A split screen with someone on Subway Surfers just to hit these kids with double the dopamine.
They don't know what they missed out on though.
And like you see all these TikToks for like the split screens and like someone doing the Minecraft jumps.
Yeah.
Or the GTA races.
Yeah.
With the other person talking at the top just to hit them with double the dopamine.
Maybe it'll go back around. Maybe like we'll have like a refresh of like stuff that was cool for us. Maybe the DS will be cool again. You know what I mean? Like I know Switch, like the Switch has come out. It's meant to be like similar to like a Wii or a DS or whatever. But like that's the kind of games that we played when we were kids. Like Wii Sport and like Wii Tennis and stuff. Yeah. Like we used to crack up like, you know what I mean? Like that would be a weekend fun.
It was because there was no easy access to the internet though. Like, having those local mobile games that you could play without the internet was like the pinnacle for that era, because not everyone had the internet. It wasn't easy to play multiplayer with your friends.
Yeah. You also would have 500 megabytes of data and you wouldn't have unlimited.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different thing as well.
Data's a scam now. I would have a whole different tangent on that, but like companies give you like, here's all this data that you will never use.
Yeah, literally. That's why I changed my phone bill recently.
That's another story. But yeah, mobile games, like kids these days, it's kind of a new era of mobile games where it's like all these in-app purchases and parents' credit cards. There was like a period of time where like they were just getting like spent like crazy, and like there's all new laws to prevent that now. Like even Fortnite now these days, like people say it's like,
I know like Roblox is a big one as well.
Yeah, like the amount of money that these companies are making off in-app purchases, so that the game is free, and then like, oh, you want a cool looking thing that your favorite influencer has, pay us $5-10.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I spoke about in another episode. I said it's not about being nostalgic as being a kid anymore. It's, oh, who do I look up to that has this now? What influencer, like, you know, is promoting this product? Oh, I want that now.
The impact of the YouTubers, like it was originally they were called YouTubers, and then as soon as they like switched onto other platforms, now they're influencers.
Yeah.
And like people say, oh, get a real job. But like the amount of money these like people who have genuine influence.
As someone who works in influencer marketing, I know how much money that these people are making. They're making your salary with one video. Like it's insanity. And honestly, it puts me back and it makes me like, you know, a bit humble in a way, because I'm like, wow, that really humbles me that I'm, you know, they're charging me $25,000 and I'm like, oh wow, that takes me like 6 months.
The thing, like, you know? This is the thing, like in the last 2 years of the internet, really, like it feels like literally anyone can be an influencer if you put like the effort into it. Like Mr. Beast has a saying that I'll always remember it. He said that YouTube is 99% skill and 1% luck. So like he figured it out. He reverse engineered like, okay, thumbnail needs to look like this, XYZ, make the video like attention span of the kid is not going to be great. So we got to hit them with the juicy stuff at the beginning, make them watch all the middle, and then at the end we'll give them the results. So like he understands how
he's just
it works.
Blown up.
He's the biggest.
There's no one to compare him to. So he's definitely the 1% of the luck.
Yeah,
definitely. But again, he has put a lot of effort in over the time, and he knows. And I know I read something as well that he gives back. He doesn't keep a lot of the money. He just reinvests it into new videos and new ideas. And
his content's so vague that anyone can watch it. It's not specific.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get capped out at an audience. 100%. It can just grow forever. But that idea of like, literally, I log on to TikTok and like every second video I see, like the person has like 50K like followers, and I'm like, geez, like everyone's just like blown up. Like everyone's just taking all this money in, like, and obviously on TikTok as well, every fourth post is an ad. It's like, how much money is?
It's not even comprehensible about how much money.
I think we'll do an in-depth on influencers and social media and that new era in another episode, because there's just so much to get into.
There's way too much.
But yeah,
isn't it crazy that I look back like how much it's changed?
It's like it's changed so much. And
we've been there, like we've grown with it. We got to, as we said, we got to experience a little bit of like the nostalgia, going outside, having fun, like still being a kid.
Yeah.
But then we like, you know, we went to high school, we needed a laptop, and now we're in, you know, now we're 23, 24, and it's like, you know, we're in this AI chat GPT, like, you know, new iPhone every year, like all this new stuff that's coming out, and we're like, wow, hasn't that just, we wouldn't have even thought that this would come out that quickly.
And the new like Apple Vision Pro, the whole augmented reality, that's really the next big thing. Like it's probably 10 years away from being like amazing. At the beginning of what the iPhone was, and like eventually being in a pair of glasses. But like imagine what that's going to do. Like you can guarantee in 50 years time, kids in high school will be using, they probably already are using virtual reality to learn, and like that's just
like you won't go on an excursion, you'll be wearing the glasses and you'll be doing a trip to the zoo through your
like that's virtual reality. That's uncomprehendable to me. Like
I know.
I haven't even put the thing on. It freaks me out
about having kids though, about like I want them to experience a little bit like of you know what it's like to be a human, because at the end of the day we're humans, we're not robots. So
I think I think thankfully sport is a nice way to kind of ground kids in reality a little bit.
Yeah, but like what if they don't want to do sport? That's hard.
I feel like that's where you've got to be disciplined as a parent. Like you got to try. Otherwise, like you got to do something outside. Like do something outside.
You're going back to parenting again.
Yeah, I am. I said tips. I wouldn't tell people how to parent. But what else can you do outside?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, play board games.
Yeah.
Or play it on your phone.
It's better than an iPad, I guess. But yeah. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us for this episode. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.